What's a real life glitch you've experienced that you still can't explain? My brother got shot in the stomach and the bullet bounced off and fell on the ground. Apparently it had traveled a long distance and lost a lot of velocity. It left a welt, but that was it. Or he's just bulletproof and didn't want anyone to know. Once when running a route neighborhood I'd run 100 times, I went across a street and suddenly lost all sense of direction. I slowly stopped and tried to orient myself with street signs and landmarks, but nothing made sense. I know, it sounds like dementia, but I was only in my 30s and had never experienced it before or since. It was as if the Matrix reloaded and I was pointed in a different direction than before the reload, but my body still remembered the direction I was going. I had something similar once. I walked into my apartment building and couldn't remember how to get to mine, so I walked around through all the halls and floors trying to figure it out, but I just totally lost sense of direction and knowing where I was. So strange. A classic summer thunderstorm was fast approaching. It was super windy out but not yet raining. I've always been fascinated by weather, so I went outside and sat in a lawn chair. I was sitting in the middle of my yard, a good 10 feet from anything, when I was pelted in the face with a crouton. It was gusty, but not at the moment I was struck. I took it inside to show my family and no one cared. I never came up with a reasonable explanation. Must have been stale for the bird carrying it to decide. Meh, not worth it. My mom told me this. In my parents' bedroom was this really large master closet. It was technically just one closet, but it had 2 doors going into it. Between the 2 doors was a high shelf and a hanging rod for clothes. So it functioned like 2 separate walk-in closets, but you could walk from one to the other by ducking under any clothes hung in the middle. One night she was in her side of the closet and she saw through the gap between the shelf and the clothes rod my dad walk into his side of the closet. She heard the metal coat hangers sliding as he looked for something to wear and saw the clothes in the middle sway as they were brushed from the other side. From her side of the closet she started talking to him about something random. Then she heard the bathroom door open. She poked her head out of the closet to see my dad clearly just emerging from the shower, walked to look into his side of the closet and nothing. And up until the moment she poked her head out to look at the bathroom door, she will swear to you she could still see my dad in that closet. One morning I woke up, rolled out of bed, brushed, had breakfast as usual, and then went about my day off. I lounged around the house a little bit, played my DS for a bit, plinked away on my guitar. A lazy morning. Suddenly I'm driving in my car a couple towns over on my way to the B&N. I pulled over and tried to collect my thoughts. I remembered waking up and getting ready, watering plants, cleaning my stuff up in the living room, then hopping in my car. But I also remember doing all of the stuff from that other version of that morning. So I had 2 separate days that suddenly merged into one and kept both memories. I was meeting someone at the train station from Craigslist to buy my old phone for $200. He let me know when he was going to arrive and what he would be wearing. I got there, saw a guy that matched the description and showed him the phone. He took a look, gave me $200 and went on his way. As I started walking back home, I got a phone call from the original buyer telling me he just got to the train station and was looking for me. I had no idea what to say. Who the frick did I sell my phone to? I bit a banana once and the apple biting sound file played instead. You're supposed to peel the banana before you take a bite. I'm not the kind of person to have a great many friends, but those friends I do keep are sacred to me. So one evening I was getting out of a Rotterdam subway, dark, to go to my apartment near there, when I see an old friend, one I haven't seen in the flesh in a few years, heading into the subway. I call out his name. He turns, waves and makes this call me gesture. Then the doors close and the subway rides off. 30 seconds later, my phone rings. It was my friend, who told me he'd just seen me get in the normal train he'd used to get home from the bar. Apparently, I had grinned, waved, gestured call me. The door shut and the train drove off. I lived in Rotterdam. He lived in Enschede. That's just over 200 kilometers apart, or about 125 miles. Our mattress did not have those little rope handles on. It absolutely did not. As of last week, while I was stripping the sheets and putting on fresh ones, it does. I'm too afraid to check again. Your husband, BF partner, whatever, crap the bed and replace the mattress. They were too embarrassed to tell you and figured you'd never know the difference. Basically, it felt like I stepped back in time. I was walking on the sidewalk along a busy road when suddenly with a step, the whole dang world changed around me. It was a crazy hot day, but suddenly it was cool and cloudy. There were only a few cars on the road and lots of people riding bicycles. I remember seeing a girl in a blue dress out of the corner of my eye. It was so surreal, but with the next step I was back in the usual reality, and to this day I have no idea what happened. Dreamt I was on a train which crashed. The guy in front of me was decapitated. The train car caught on fire before plunging off a bridge into water. I drowned. Woke up in a panic. Realized I wasn't dead and fell back asleep. Had the exact same dream. And again. And again. Next day, dragging my tired butt into work wondering why my mind decided to play a dream like a bad VCR. I passed the volunteer desk at work with its daily pile of newspapers. The evening before a train had crashed before plunging off a bridge into a river. Later it came out the crash produced some horrific injuries including decapitation. I was a very broke young adult and did not own a TV until a few years after this dream. You were on that train in your former dimension. It was summer, and my grandfather, grandmother, mom and I were working in the garden. It's pretty big and there is a lot of grass to be mowed and stuff like that. After all the work my mom would always ask me to get some soda, because everyone was thirsty from working. It was in the evening, but still pretty warm. After everyone had their soda, my mom asked me to put it back in the fridge which was in the basement, used as a living area. Only a small part is storage. So I go to the basement, and please note, the room with the fridge is like 20-30 seconds from the exit, and you have to pass 2 doors with those flappy anti-fly curtains. I put the soda in the fridge, close the fridge and walk out. Seems normal, right? Except I had to do this 3 times. The soda kept reappearing whenever I put it in the fridge and turned my back on it. Everyone was outside, and there was only 1 bottle of soda in the room. To this day, I am still confused over what happened. There have probably been more moments like this, but this is the one I remember the most. Must have had a poor connection to the server. When I was about 6 or 7, my cat died. It was the first time I experienced death and it really shook me up. Then, about a month later, I saw my cat walk into my room clear as day. I wasn't freaked out and I didn't question it. I reached down to pet him and suddenly he was gone. This happened a few more times until we got 2 new cats. Each time it happened, the fact he was dead never crossed my mind. Cats are so dang stubborn they even refuse to leave after death. As a kid, shot a rubber band off my fingers at a soccer goal. Rubber band, unbroken, was looped around one of the strings of the soccer goal. Absolutely no clue how that happened. Playing on a better connection could help prevent rubber banding. This happened about 6 years ago. Myself and 3 other friends went to a concert at the biggest venue in Mexico City. One of my friends is a woman. This is important for the story. So, the concert ended and we agreed on a meetup point outside the venue so we could pick a cab and leave together. There were about 100k people there, so we inevitably got separated. So we went to the meetup point. We waited for my friend for about 15 minutes when we started to get worried, so we started calling her phone. However, due to the sheer amount of people present at the venue trying to make phone calls, the lines get congested and the calls won't go out or they won't be received. So we started to get really worried. After another 10 minutes trying to call her, I get a phone call from her. She sounded extremely gloomy and sad. She said, "Hey Sebasvasu, I'm alright, I'm already at my place. Everything is okay." I got immediately freaked out as this was impossible. She lived 2 hours away and not even an hour had gone by. We get super freaked out and try to call her and start flagging some cops down. Cause being Mexico City, I thought she had been kidnapped. Then, 30 seconds after the call, she comes out of the crowd looking as chilled as she could possibly look. I yell at her, telling her what the heck was wrong with her, etc etc. The thing is, she looked so surprised at this. She denies having made any phone calls. She tried, but couldn't get a signal. We don't believe her, so we look at her phone and there was no record of the call having been made. After this, I take my phone to show her the call and there was no record of the call having been received either. To this day I have no idea what happened, because the voice on the other end of the phone was hers, and she knew details about me and my name. Girlfriend and I were talking on her front lawn. Mid-sentence, I felt something evil to my left. I stopped talking and turned. She did too. Saw some sort of shadowy humanoid around 30 feet away. Light was enough that it was obviously not a person. She asked, "Do you see that?" She didn't know why I stopped talking. I nodded. Without another word we both ran inside. No idea what it was. I would call it a trick of the light, but it was out of my vision when I originally got that feeling. I love how running inside is going to stop an evil spirit from attacking. In high school I did archery, and one day at shooting practice one of the new kids shot a bullseye exactly, dead center. This isn't that remarkable. You fire enough arrows, sooner or later one of them will be a bullseye. But everyone was being nice and congratulating him. Suddenly, a voice in my head, which sounded like me, but didn't feel like me, said, "Yeah, but Lynn's about to do the same thing." And I could see in my mind's eye, Lynn firing an arrow, it flying through the air and hitting a dead center bullseye. Then, maybe 3 or 4 seconds later, I watch as Lynn fires an arrow and it flies in exactly the trajectory I had seen in my head, and lands with a thwack. Bullseye. Everyone is over congratulating Lynn now. She was new too, and I'm standing off to the side wondering what the frick just happened. It happened one more time a month or 2 later too. I saw something happen in my head exactly as it did a few seconds later. I've forgotten the details of the second time though, and it's never happened since. When I was about 13-14, I went on a trip to another state with my church youth group. We drove through the country for hours in a region I had never been to before. Eventually we ended up in a small town. I was looking out the window and realized I knew this town as if I had lived there before. Like, I knew the post office would be a few blocks ahead on the right, and then, sure enough, there it was. Weirder. I knew what the buildings would look like. I predicted the location of all the landmarks in the town before we were close enough to see them, and all of the predictions were correct. It was very spooky and got the other kids on the bus a little riled up. I had left my cell phone, this was 2006 so it was an LG flip phone, on the charger when I went to work. After an 8-hour shift I got home and grabbed it. There was a voicemail from an unknown number. I listened to it and it was a man saying he had just received a call from my number and wanted to make sure it wasn't someone he knew that needed something. I checked the call log and sure enough at 2 p.m., about 3 hours before I was home, my phone called a number. I called him back and asked if someone said anything. At this point I was convinced someone broke in. He said he could hear someone talking in the background but it wasn't something he could understand. That's why he called back. I never figured out if it was a polite intruder using my phone without stealing anything or something more spiritual. I'm not a believer in ghosts but quite a few unexplainable things happened in that house. It was unexplained for a little bit, but it was freaky and as far as I know, an actual glitch. I was driving home from, I think, the bookstore and suddenly realized the street signs were missing letters. Like a stop sign would read STP. Then other things I saw began missing parts, but without any space for the missing stuff to be in. Like if reality was a piece of paper that was being folded to hide things. I managed to drive home like this, barely keeping myself from freaking out. Got home and things got back to normal. Then the worst headache of my entire life hit me. Yep, my first migraine ever of luckily only 2 so far, with years apart. I'd heard people talk about migraine symptoms, like colors and blinking lights and smudges that impair your vision a little. Stuff like that. Nobody had ever mentioned a symptom could be reality freaking warping around you. Years ago I was driving home late from work and as I was waiting at an intersection my whole car jerked violently to the right. It actually lifted off the ground and sent my drink flying. I looked up and saw the light was green so I restarted the car, manual transmission. It stalled and started to go through and pull over to check for damage. At that moment a drunk woman in an SUV ran the red light and smashed into a power transformer. If whatever happened to me hadn't I would have been T-boned on my driver door. So a long time ago I was fed up with life and stepped off a curb in front of a dump truck, turned, looked at the grill of the truck, closed my eyes, opened them to the truck passing me by and me back up on the curb. Still don't understand it and I don't know if I want to. One time during a run I had an out-of-body experience. I was just running along. and then I blinked and I was seeing everything as if I was standing over my own shoulder. I could see the back of my head and all around me, but my head wasn't moving. It was just super weird. Sometimes when I run and I'm not really focusing on what I'm doing, my whole body feels like it's moving without me controlling it. This has happened a few times now, so I don't know what it could be. My friend and I were once outside when he was changing his girlfriend's car battery. It was at night and there was a lot of fog out. Suddenly, there was a flash of white lights in his neighborhood for like half a second. It couldn't have come from a porch light or something. Everything was engulfed by the light. We looked around and didn't see anything that could have caused it. There were no cars. None of his neighbors had turned on any lights. Nothing. To this day, we still believe a Terminator was sent back in time to his neighborhood. Electrical transformer going pop. The flash of light will travel really far in fog or low clouds. Went out of state to a casino with my family. The casino had 2 floors. It kind of looked like a mall. You could see the top floor just by looking up, and you got to the top floor by using an escalator. The bathroom was on the top floor and my mom went to the bathroom alone. She was gone for about 15 minutes before I went looking for her. I checked the restroom and she wasn't in there. The rest of my family, 5 people, spread out to look for her and met back by the escalator and no one could find her. I was holding her phone for her so I couldn't call her. I saw a suspicious looking man standing by the ladies' room the entire time we were looking, and I thought maybe he killed her and stuffed her in the trash, or maybe he killed her in the men's room. I'm irrational when I am in panic mode, so I checked there too. Finally, after another few minutes, my mom comes down the escalator looking zoned out. I was so relieved to see her. She was tripping out because she said she took the escalator and it took her to another building across the street and then back to where we were, even though she got on the right escalator. I swear there was only 2, one going up and another going down. The crazy part was that the buildings weren't even connected at all. One day, I was driving with my son, 3, and daughter, infant. Son was in a car seat, all the way in the back of my van. Daughter was in the middle. I know my son had boots on, because there was no snow on the ground, so I tried to put his shoes on and he screamed bloody murder until he got boots. We went directly to the van. When we got to our destination, a grocery store less than 10 minutes away, he no longer had boots on. Now, keep in mind that the windows in the back of my van don't open at all. Neither do the windows in the middle, only the ones in the front. And since it was winter, I definitely didn't open those. After a quick search in the parking lot with no results, we obviously had to go back home cause he couldn't walk around the store in socks. When we got back home, I searched the car properly. After about 20 minutes, it wasn't even about managing to get to the grocery store. It was the principle of the thing. I was going to find those goddamn boots. I removed car seats and entire seats from the van. I searched every possible space I could access, let alone my strapped-in 3-year-old. I even searched everywhere in between the spot I put his boots on and the car. I never found those goddamn freaking boots. He ate them. Shoes would have tasted weird, obviously. I swear I've witnessed Framerate lag. Me too. Recently I was walking a distance and the footpath just kept doing this weird stuff like it was computerized or something. Really difficult to describe. Almost like it was flickering constantly. I traveled back to my hometown to visit relatives. On second day back, I went to bed, blinked, and suddenly it was daylight. Apparently I had slept an entire 36 hours, but my relatives remembered me doing various activities, washing dishes, eating dinner, shopping, etc., though nobody actually saw me around. My mom came home from work once and saw me walk out of my room. She called out to me and I didn't answer. I didn't answer because I was at my friend's house. I went to this psychic with my mom for fun and we both got readings. It was interesting, but one weird thing really stuck out for its specificity. The psychic told my mom that my deceased grandpa was telling her to check the furnace. Weird and random. A little bit of time goes by and my mom has the furnace checked and serviced. The repair guy comes out and says, "I can see you have a carbon monoxide detector, but you've had so much leaking out, I don't know how it didn't go off and how your cat isn't dead by now." No one in the house was experiencing any symptoms of exposure to it yet, thankfully. Carbon monoxide is odorless, so it's not like the psychiatrist could have smelled it on us, but thanks for saving our lives, lady. I was in my grandparents' van and felt something thunk on my head. I reach up to find a dime on top of my head. There was nowhere it could have come from. We were inside the van and the door was closed, and the visor was way in front of where I was. On top of that, my mom saw it fall out of the corner of her eye. All I can figure was I prayed for money and God thought that would be a funny way to fulfill the request. When I was about 11 years old, I was playing with my younger sister and 2 friends at the bottom of their garden. It was a semi-rural area and there was a cow field that stretched away for about a mile, and then there was a motorway. There was no visual change in our surroundings, yet suddenly the cows stopped making any sound at all and we couldn't hear the traffic on the motorway, which was usually constant. We all froze as we sensed something. The air felt heavy as if it was pushing down on us and we all felt a prickly heat on any exposed skin. It lasted a good 10 seconds and then stopped as fast as it had started. The cows went crazy and the traffic sounds returned. We all agreed we felt it. I wonder what strange weather systems were at play that day. A friend of mine and I used to joke about how our backpacks had black holes, which was why we could all our stuff in it. A good while into this, we found each other's stuff in our backpacks. This happened multiple times, too. After it kept happening, we reasoned out that it was most likely that we were dropping our stuff into the other's backpack without noticing. But the chances of that were lower than the frequency at which it was happening. What really screamed at me that something was wrong was when 3 of his pens in his pen collection ended up not in my backpack, but in the pocket of my jacket weeks after he lost them. Was walking across an open parade ground on a military base, and at one point I passed a couple people. With the people there was a small individual. This language matters. It was dressed in clothes that didn't make sense. I know it sounds weird, but that's the only way I can describe it. It was dressed as if it was trying to dress like a human, but wasn't really sure how that might look. As I passed, it said in a kind of sing-songy way, "How are you doing?" I instantly got chills and kept walking. Being a huge skeptic though, reason grabbed me and I turned around to see what the heck just happened. The only thing I saw were the people standing there. The other thing was gone. No dang idea what the heck that was all about. I woke up from bed one morning and I had telescopic vision. I was able to see dust on my table and micro scratches on my model figurines that were 10 feet away on the other side of the room. I blinked and my vision went back to normal. This is a small one, but I bought a new TV. The next day, one of the lunch ladies at my high school, who knew me by name, asked, "How are you enjoying your new TV?" I replied that it was pretty nice and went on like normal. Only an hour later did I realize that she mentioned the TV I just bought the day before. I felt some Truman Show-esque vibes. I asked her how she knew the next day and she didn't seem to know what I meant. I still weirdly remember this to this day. I was 7-8 years old watching the Mets in the playoffs and my mom said I had to go to bed. My dad asked me, "Who do you think is going to win?" The Mets were down but the game was close. I'm not sure why, but I said Robin Ventura is going to hit a grand slam to win the game. My dad was just like, "Okay, shut up." If anyone knows baseball, you'll know this is a lofty ass prediction. Very damn lofty. Next thing I know, my dad wakes me up at midnight and tells me the Mets won on a Robin Ventura grand slam. He was freaked the frick out and I couldn't sleep that night. My mom thought I was a psychic, which I don't think I am. I have no idea why I felt that was going to happen and it's one of the most memorable times of my childhood. Freaking weird. You have been visited by the science doggo. Upvote now and you will get high grades and good results within the next week. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check out another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.